Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is the Dude RC, and today I wanted to talk about something that I always thought was pretty interesting. And now that it's no longer classified, hasn't been classified for a couple years now, I can actually talk about it. Talk about my time working under subcontract for NASA and the LU.R.E. Observatory on top of Haleakela, where we got to shoot satellites with a giant laser system. So this is something that nobody else has. This is the only copy of it in the world, and something that I was very proud to be part of with my father many years ago, over 20 years ago. We both worked for the University of Hawaii under a subcontract with NASA to repurpose the old Lunar Ranging Experiment Dome, or the LU.R.E. Dome. The Lunar Ranging Experiment Dome was commissioned back in 1972 to fire a very large laser at some reflectors that the Apollo 11 crew put on the moon. And it was basically just to measure the moon's distance from Earth and help track it. Well, technology's changed quite a bit over the years, and, well, it was really not needed for that anymore. But it could still serve a purpose. And that purpose was to track, I think we were tracking 77 different satellites with this system. The problem was the targeting system was nowhere near fast enough to track a satellite. So there was another company that back in 2000 had finished well, they didn't finish. They were doing a targeting system for it, but they never finished it. It never worked properly. So back in 2000, my father was commissioned to try to build a system for it after he had mentioned that, well, we could build one using off-the-shelf PLC components. And that's exactly what that man did. I tell you, my father, he was one of the smartest, if not the smartest people that I have ever met. And I was thrilled to be part of this project. Now, mind you, I didn't design it. I didn't do most of the building. I was just the guy who got to do the wiring on it. So everything went inside that cabinet. That's all the componentry. And it was really a simple little PLC components. I'm pretty sure we used Allen Bradley and I think Gale was the other company that we used. But that allowed everything to work fast enough to be able to shoot and track satellites. And this is the same thing as what they did with the moon, is we would fire a beam of light, rather powerful beam of light, up at a satellite, and it would reflect off of it, and we would capture that beam back here, and we'd be able to see how fast the satellite was moving, what its altitude was, and some other rudimentary data. But we would pass all that data along to NASA, and that's how they used to keep track of the satellites. I think they got a little bit more advanced way to do it now, but I always thought this was really cool. And this was one of the best jobs I ever had. I got to work up there from end of 2000 to I think it was about 2004 before this whole thing got, I guess, canceled. They're doing it again, and they're doing it a little bit different now. But I always thought this was cool. So this is our tracker gimbal. So this is a high-speed gimbal with a very, very reflective mirror on it. Below this floor, in the building right below it, was a giant laser system. I can't remember its exact power specs or anything, but it was a monster of a laser. I do remember one day we got to put a quarter at the end of the beam, and it took a picosecond to punch a perfect hole through that quarter. and it was loud. It was very, very loud. But it would reflect up through a series of mirrors in the floor below this base, and this would fire it off and then also collect it. And so nothing like a laser cannon like you'd see in a movie, but something that was very, very cool nonetheless. And my job there for a couple of years was called the Laser Range Safety Officer. And I'll put a picture here of that little box, that little, what looks like a box trailer. That was my office on top of it, where I basically sat there and stared at the sky with a laptop that was hooked to the tracking system. And I would be on the lookout for anybody that was flying over us. So I was basically the go, no-go on the laser firing. But as you can see, this is pretty dang old technology, especially by today's standards. We're talking 12 megahertz processing and only 115 kilobyte per second, internet connectivity. So it was, by today's standards, it's extremely slow. But back then, back in 2000, this thing was super fast. I did get to see a whole lot of neat stuff when I was up there too, but this was one of the neatest jobs I ever had. But I hear a lot of different people say, "Oh, we never went to the moon," and I tell you, that's bullshit, 100% bullshit. Because I've gotten to look through analog telescopes while up there on Haleakela. We had an entire complex up there full of various telescopes, and so I've gotten to see those mirrors firsthand on the moon. I know we've been there. I've seen them, but that was no longer the task of the L.U.R.E dome when I worked there. Like I said, we shot at I'm pretty sure it was 77 different satellites, and it's a job I very much miss. We were paid pretty dang good money. We were given government issued cars, so every single day, well, 4 days out of the week anyway, we'd have to go from sea level to 10,000 feet, the top of Haleakela in Maui, Hawaii. And that is one of the steepest climbs to altitude in the world. Crater Highway or Crater Road is not a very long road for as much altitude as you gain while driving up that road. So it's very steep. So it was nice to have some government cars to beat on. But because of that, that's how we got that for some of the work that we'd done up there. So very proud of my father for that. I wish he was still with us. He's not, but I do have this little piece of history that nobody else in the world has. And very, very few, maybe a couple dozen people have ever seen this. Very few know that it exists. And after watching Fly Me to the Moon last night, I thought this would be a nice little thing to share with my viewers. Something a little different. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this little piece of trivia. Something a little bit different than the normal RC car stuff. And something about my past. Anyway, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. This is the Dude RC. Catch you on the next video.